What is up, internet people? NinjaNick333 back, and we're gonna start day 2 of the Pokemon Regional Championships in San Diego here. Looks like they have a little bit of a chart as to where all the regionals were happening. So if you saw there, the NAIC, they're showing, even though they don't have a date on it yet, they go June to August, and see how it's like really close to August. So even though it shows West Coast Regional here, which they haven't officially announced where it is, but I'm pretty sure someone's let it leak where it is. That's 6/10 to 6/11. So judging by North America being here, I mean, it's probably either end of June or somewhere in July. It's usually somewhere around July 4th weekend is where NAIC is. So just keep that in mind if you guys are interested in going to that tournament at some point. Let's see how everybody is doing here. It's a little... let's see. Darren's doing pretty good. Moffitt was 3rd seed going into day 2. Good on my boy. Sam Chen, he's pretty great too. 4th seed. Otherwise, like, I mean, this is pretty stacked as always. Let's see the next seeds. Riley Hurlbert, we saw, managed to end 9-2, or is at least at 9-2-1 after running through a whole bunch of really good players in day 1. Pablo's still 12th. There's Azul there, Drew. So just a lot of the players that keep performing all the time are still performing. Looks like we've got Caleb Gettimer on stream again versus Derek Schwartz. I don't think it let us see those prize cards. Let me see those prize cards, please. So it looks like some sort of... I think maybe I saw Derek tweet, because I did see that there was a weird, like, triple Zacian deck. I think it was like a Lost Zone deck, so maybe that was him. I'm not 100% sure, but we already know what Caleb's on. He's on the Lost Zone that plays the Dragonite. We already saw him on stream. Actually, no, this is different. This is Dialga, it looks like. So I'll be curious to see if he has the Lost Zone engine in here, or if it's just straight Dialga. It's very odd that a Dialga ended up making it into day 2. Dialga's really good in the fact that it can take 2 turns in a row using its VStar power. But unfortunately, outside of that, it's just not very good. Normally, most of the time, you charge up one Dialga VStar, and then it dies, and then you lose. Like, you're able to take 2 turns with it, sure. Potentially 4 prize cards with the one dude, but then once it goes down, it's really hard to set up an additional attacker. That's why you also see things like the Zacian V in the deck, because the Zacian V not only can help you draw cards, but it can also help you energy accelerate as well. I think that this is a particularly bad matchup for for the Dialga deck, because they can take a 2 turns in a row. However, they're going to probably be knocking out 1 prizers with those, whereas Caleb's going to be knocking out basically only 2 prizers. So if Caleb can get that, pretty good attack off with the Kyogre as well, he could always take a potential 4 prize turn as well. As long as he mills enough energy. If it gets late enough in the game, he does that energy recycler with 0 cards in deck, puts 5 energy back in. You guarantee 250 on 2 different Pokemon. If he's got Choice Belt and the Dialga's active, then you're knocking out the active Dialga, and then you can also knock out a bench Zacian. So, also, in order to get this metal deck set up, you generally have to play a bunch of Crobats and Luminions into play. So it's kind of unfortunate for that's even more easy pickings with that Kyogre as well. So we already see the Kyogre in hand from Caleb. He's not going to want to bench that until he's ready to attack with it, most likely, because he doesn't want to get it bossed up and knocked out. Especially if Derek manages to take the 2 turns in a row with the Dialga. You don't want to get that knocked out and something else basically at the same time. So we see a pretty standard setup from Caleb. He did go first. He's got double Comfey in play. That's most of the time what you want to see. With your start with Lost Boxes, you want to see at least 2 Comfeys. He was able to use a Scoop Up Net so that he was able to use both of the Comfeys at least once. So he's got Lost Zone, 2 cards in the Lost Zone. So it'll be great if he can get a Chorus's Experiment the next turn. He'll be able to attack with a Cramorant potentially. Derek looks like he is playing Energy Search to get likely a Metal Energy. I don't think he would be playing anything besides basic Metal Energy. Maybe one of the special, but I think it's just better to play all basic energies in that. Again, pretty unfortunate that Energy Search is what you have to play when Water currently has Capacious Bucket. I would have much preferred that they printed Professor's Letter. I felt like it would have been more fair to have a reprint of that card because that's like double Energy Search. So it would have been like Capacious Bucket, but for any color's energies. So decks like Dialga are at, you know, they don't have quite the benefit that the water decks have. So Palkia is inherently stronger than Dialga, even though they should kind of be on the same power level, right? But yeah, we just see Metal Energy down on that Zacian, and that's pretty much it from Derek. We do go straight into the Chorus's Experiment, going straight to 4 cards in the Lost Zone for Caleb without pretty much any effort. We do also see the Cram in this 5 cards off the Chorus as well. He's thinking about Lost Zoning them. Also, the Energy Recycler, I would be very afraid to get rid of that Energy Recycler, but if you have to do it, you have to do it. Yeah, the Cramorant right now is more important, especially since all that's in play for Derek is a Zacian. If you just get 2 attacks off with Cram, you just win. So, if Derek doesn't have any follow-up on his next turn, you're not going to really need that Energy Recycler, so. But in case Derek all of a sudden gets this God set up on the next turn, you know, maybe you would want to conserve that Energy Recycler. But Caleb's played this deck a ton. He definitely knows when it is or is not safe to Lost Zone that Energy Recycler, whether he has to or not. You did see that he saved a Mirage Gate with it as well, so he'll be able to use that to power up something like a Kyogre. I mean, if he just hits with Cram and maybe doesn't have another Cram after that, he could always use the Mirage Gate to power up either the Kyogre or the Sableye to potentially, or even that Dragonite that's in hand to potentially knock out the Zacian. Actually, if he gets to 7 cards in the Lost Zone, which is only 1 more, he can actually potentially power up this Dragonite in 1 turn and then just win. So it's really bad that Derek started the Zacian and had nothing else to go with it. It would have been nice if he could have air ballooned into like maybe a single prizer, but he has no other Pokemon besides the Zacian. So we're going to see if Caleb is able to dig in order to be able to take the knockout with that Dragonite right now. I see a Lightning in hand. Mirage Gate has to get 2 different colored energies, so he would have to... It looks like he's committing his energy attachment for turn to the Comfey anyway. So yeah, he would have needed 2 water and a lightning in order to attack with the Dragonite. Caleb's just going the safer route, going for the Cram. I don't think he had the combination of cards in order to be able to get that Dragonite set up. He would have needed something like a Scoop Up Net or a Switch card in order to go into it, along with like double Mirage Gate or 1 Mirage Gate and a water energy in hand. So he didn't have that, so he just goes for the Cram. He's still way ahead at this point, so it's perfectly fine that that's what happened. The Zacian will be able to be 2-shot by that Cramorant. Derek does end up being able to get down the Mew, so at least maybe the Zacian is safe from getting knocked out on this next turn. And also the Mew will be able to dig for more cards. I also did notice he had that Trekking Shoes in his hand the previous turn. I think that it might have been better to just play that on the previous turn to hope that you see a basic Pokemon so that you don't just go Zacian pass. But it ended up being fine because Caleb didn't get the Dragonite play off. So we see the Mew use its mysterious tail to look at the top, I think it's 6 cards of the deck. and find a trainer card from there. I think an item card specifically. Gets that Ultra Ball. Derek's going to use Quick Ball, discarding Scoop Up Net, which is something that you generally use to recycle those Mews, so you can use the ability multiple times in a turn. You can stack a bunch of Metal Saucers into your hand, which work the same as Dark Patch or Aqua Patch, where you can put a Metal Energy from your discard pile on one of your bench Metal Pokemon. So that's one of the ways that you get a whole bunch of energy on that Origin Form Dialga VStar, so that it can use its VStar power. But I think Derek's a little behind right now, so I don't think he's going to be able to be immediately able to get that V-Star power off, especially since he only just benched a Dialga V here. We're going to see that hard attach return from hand. The Metal Saucer is in hand. I think you can just conserve that. Oh, he's got two of them. You can definitely just conserve that for now. And yeah, I think leaving the Mew active instead of using the Scoop Up Net is probably better there. Use the Intrepid Sword from the Zacian to draw 3, and if any of them are metal, put them on your Pokemon, but it looks like no metals off the top deck there. So, unfortunately for him, he's going to have to... Unfortunately, he only draws 3 cards, you know? He doesn't also accelerate any energy. The Zacian's ability, even though, like, I think that was, like, printed in Sword and Shield base or something, right? I wasn't really playing around that time. I was taking my break then, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was Sword and Shield base, and that card, like, still proves to be very powerful to this day. It just goes to show just how good the ability, and the attack even is on it. Even though its HP is technically small, compared to what the V-Stars and V-Maxes do these days. We see that Hisuian, Heavy Ball is going to get the Radiant Greninja out of his prize cards. Caleb has now seen all 6 of his prize cards. So as you see, he's got this like sort of like notepad etch-a-sketch type of thing that he's taking notes on. That's really cool because it saves on paper. You're saving trees. So he can take notes on that, and then you can click that button that's on the bottom. I know it kind of looks like an iPhone almost. But you click that button on the bottom and it clears the screen. So between games, when you want to essentially refresh your notepad, you can just clear that off like that. I personally would prefer to use paper because it's like $1 for a small notepad or something like that. Plus then you can keep the pages from previous games. You can just flip to a new page so that if you want to go and review anything that essentially happened in a previous game, you can still have that information available to you, because you're not always lucky enough to get on stream to be able to go and watch back one of your games, and that's something that players should look into doing. Like, I love being able to like stream and record matches of Pokemon, just because you can learn a lot from watching yourself play back and be like, oh, this was a huge misplay that I made here. It would have been better if I did this other thing instead that I didn't see at the time. So just being able to go back and watch your play helps you become a better player. I know my buddy Nick Moffitt, they did not stream his top 4 match at, what was it? I don't remember where it was. But they didn't stream his top 4 match versus the Arceus Flying Pikachu that ended up getting second. And he wished that they streamed that instead of the top 8 match, because he's like, yeah, I definitely made some misplays, and it would have been great to go back and review the match to see how I could have done my plays differently in order to win that game, because we both feel like that was a winnable matchup for him. But he felt like he kind of punted it. We do see the Mirage Gate. We're actually at 10 cards in the Lost Zone. We're at more than 7, so that Mirage Gate is able to be played. We're just going to see a Psychic come down on that Comfey just for a retreating option, and then a Water Energy to the Radiant Greninja, trying to get that set up. There could always be the potential in the future to get a double knockout on Mews. Kill 2 Mews with 1 Radiant Greninja. So you can go ahead on prizes that way as well. So you can just see how favorite of a matchup it is for Lost Box here. He is going to retreat into the Sableye since he is at 10 cards in the Lost Zone. I would assume that he's just going to load up a whole bunch of damage on the Dialga. He might try to knock out the Zacian, but I think it would be better to just, spread the damage around like that. So he's got, looks like 100 on the Dialga. That leaves, once it evolves, it'll be at 180 HP left. And 2 on the Mew. I think that's 40 HP remaining, I believe. Maybe 30. I think it has 60 HP on the Mew. So just softening that one up, trying to make the math easier. Let's see. So I could do 1. So we do see the Quick Ball coming out. Love that Diamond and Pearl style artwork from the Quick Ball. The card does not do what it says. That card has been errated. So you have to play it as if it's the new wording, but you can still play the old art, which is amazing. Love me my old cards, as I've been saying. We Quick Ball for the second Dialga, since that first one has already been essentially beat up on. You're not going to want to invest all your resources into just a basic Dialga that has 1 energy on it, right? So he's going to immediately start going in for this second Dialga, potentially. Although you're still in a pretty bad spot, because what are you going to do? Load up the second Dialga and just take a knockout on the Sableye? And then Caleb can just retaliate with the Radiant Greninja, or he can just recycle Sableye again, or hit with Cram, and then everything on Derek's board is already softened up for pretty much anything. The Dragonite at any point can come in and knock out anything. We do see the Scoop Up Net on the Mew. So I personally would have preferred putting all 12 damage counters on the Dialga. But putting damage on the Mew to soften it up does kind of essentially force the Scoop Up Net from Derek. So maybe he does that just to make Derek go, oh, I want to scoop up this Mew, and put up a 2-prizer before he's ready, so that then Caleb can just return and knock out a 2-prizer instead of the Mew. And it looks like 1 energy on the Dialga VStar is actually enough to get the knockout on the Sableye. It does do 40 plus 40 for each metal energy attached to that Pokemon, so that is exactly 80, which is enough to knock out the Sableye for an exact KO. It's a little unfortunate you have to go in with this VStar, but again, 180 HP remaining. I don't think 180 versus 160 remaining if those 2 damage counters, those 2 last damage counters were put on the Dialga instead of the Mew. I don't think that 20 damage is going to end up mattering, because a Sableye, like that 160 versus 180 isn't going to matter for 1 Sableye attack, or 1 Radiant Greninja attack, or 1 Cramorant attack. We do see a Colress's Experiment. He's going to get rid of that Manaphy. Dialga is not playing anything that's going to be doing bench damage realistically, so Lost Zoning that Manaphy is one of the perfect Lost Zones there. And we're going to go in for the Comfy, dig a little harder, get rid of that Comfy. Usually you do only want to keep the 2 Comfy in rotation. You don't necessarily need 3 in play. Sometimes you do, but most of the time, if I already have 2 Comfy in play and I see any other Comfys off my Flower Selectings, that's just an easy Lost Zone in my opinion. We do see that Snorlax come to hand too, and this is actually perfect. I did not think about this. So even though he didn't put that 20 extra, those 2 extra damage counters, the 20 extra damage on that Dialga, this still leaves room for the Snorlax to finish it off in 1 hit. Because, again, it has 180 HP remaining. That Snorlax does exactly 180. So, if we see an Attach for Turn and a Mirage Gate to this Snorlax, and then some way to retreat or Scoop Up Net, we do see the Scoop Up Net now. Then the unfazed fat Snorlax can Thumping Snore for 180 and knock out the Dialga. So I do think that there has to be a Mirage Gate in his hand at this point. Although I don't see any basic energy, which is a little concerning to me. So unless he has 2 Mirage Gates in hand. If he has 2 Mirage Gates, he could always... he attached the Capture Energy to it. That's perfect. That's why he picked up his deck a second ago. So yeah, so yeah, now he's using the Mirage Gate, and he's going to... He used the Capture Energy to look at his deck to make sure what energies he needed. Then he Ordinary Rotted the energies back in so he could Mirage Gate them. So that's, again, perfect play. And now the Snorlax is able to finish off this Dialga, and Caleb's going to go ahead on prizes. So again, beautiful play. Also, Caleb's deck looks like it might be around 5 or so cards, maybe a couple more. So it is pretty thin, so we're getting to the point where that Kyogre could come into play with an Energy Recycler. And it looks like we see the double heads on the Thumping Snore Sleep flip. Thumping Snore does require you to flip 2 coins for sleep instead of 1. But since he flipped double heads, that Snorlax does wake back up. My opponents always flip double heads on Snorlax. Well, almost, they'll, like, at least, like, 2/3 of their flips are always double heads, it seems like. Especially if I'm playing a Lost Zone Mirror, and then it feels, like, super bad. Because, like, the only way you can return knockout a Snorlax is with a Snorlax most of the time. And then I'll flip, like, double tails, and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. We see the Mew come up. It's going to use its ability, search the top 6 of the deck for that Trekking Shoes. We're just going to dig a little harder there. I think what is 100% necessary this turn is to see the VStar attack from the Dialga to take 2 turns. I think what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to knock out that Snorlax, and then you're going to want to knock out the Radiant Greninja as well, potentially. I think that's probably the best knockout after that. So he's going to want to have, like, Boss's Orders in his hand as well. I know he's got at least a couple Metal Saucers. I know we never saw a Marnie from either of these players, so that hand has to still be the same. I know I saw 2 Metal Saucers in there before. I do see there's at least 1 now. I don't know if he's... Oh, he might have played one of the other ones already, though. But we do see the Ultra Ball is coming out, discarding a Bird Keeper and the Training Court. He also has a Training Court in play. We also have 2 energy on that Zacian V as well, so we might be considering attacking with that as well. Yeah, but you could just see how unfavored the prize trade is looking right now. Even though Derek, like, the amount of Pokemon that have been set up on either side is legitimately the same. It's just Caleb has to work a lot less hard to do more damage with Pokemon that give off less prize cards. And that's just the power of playing one prize deck such as Lost Box and Regigigas, is if you can play those and you can just, you know, trade attacks evenly with 2 prizers, you're always going to come out ahead. So we see another Ultra Ball getting rid of another Mew and a Scoop Up Net. Is just going to fail that search. I think at this point you can't get any more Pokemon into play anyway. If you were to bench that other Mew, that's more food for the Radiant Greninja, ending up being able to take a double knockout 2 prizes easily, which means that the prize map for Caleb would be just the 2 Mew and the Zacian. You wouldn't even have to go through this second Dialga V-Star. But Derek is forced to put a Crobat in play to draw some cards, does not see whatever he wanted in his hand. So this Dialga V is still not evolved into the V-Star and still not powered up with enough energy. So this Snorlax is going to be able to take yet another additional prize card. I don't think that this 1 prize card on the Mew is going to matter, because either way, Caleb's going to have to take a knockout on him. 2 prizers. He'll take 1 prize on the Mew to go down to 3, and then he'll still have to knock out 2 prizers. So benching the Crobat, if there's a Boss's Orders or Serena in Caleb's hand, could be kind of detrimental to Derek, because the Snorlax does exactly 180. That's enough to one-shot a Crobat. So if there's the... And it looks like Derek just realizes the hole that he's in currently and scoops up the game. So as you can see, camera's on Caleb, so you already know he's won. And there it is on screen as well, that Caleb has won game 1. So that's a perfect scoop from Derek. I think that I would have scooped it maybe a turn earlier, personally, but I don't know. I think if he was able to get the V-Star attack off on that one last turn, I think it would have been still fine to continue playing out that game. And I just barely missed the prize cards here. So we've got the Snorlax is prized from Caleb as well as double lightning. He's got 4 energy total. So that could really matter. It's going to be unlikely that he'll be able to attack with Kyogre this game if you just start with that many energy in the Lost Zone. We do see 1 Colress could matter. So yeah, these are all not necessarily really great prizes for Caleb. And then on Derek's side, we see double Mew and the Radiant Greninja. So that's not good for him either. Generally, you want to loop those Mews in order to stack your hand with things like the Trekking Shoes and the Metal Saucer in order to get going. And the Radiant Greninja is how you, most of the time, get most of those metal energies into the discard pile for the Metal Saucer, as well as is another consistency option to pair with the Mew. So, pretty bad prize cards on both players' sides. I think it's probably going to affect Derek more than it is Caleb, personally. Although, I think having the double lightning, and I think it was 1 water as well, right? Is going to make it so Caleb is not going to be able to attack with Dragonite V yet again in this game. Last time he just didn't have the right combination cards in his hand for the donk. And you see, if Caleb was able to get that donk, they would have saved a ton of time on game 1. Which might have actually given Derek more of a chance to win the whole match. But as we can see, there are only 26 minutes left on the clock, so we're going to have to see if Derek can pull out 2 wins in a row with that little time remaining. I think it is possible. Unlikely, but possible. We do see the Scoop Up Net after using the Mew's ability. We're going to put that Dialga up and then switch back into the Mew. We're likely going to use that Mew's ability yet again. Looks like his hand is only 3 cards at this point, so that's not necessarily that great. So let's see. Looks like we're going to probably eye up that Quick Ball. I can't tell what that supporter is in his hand. Yeah, he's moving his cards too fast, so I can't tell. But the Quick Ball getting rid of the metal energy is perfectly fine. Oh, and we see the Crobat. I think this is a perfect point to put Crobat into play. Again, it's really scary to put Crobat into play when you know your opponent is playing something like that Snorlax that can just easily one-shot it. But if you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. And that's the thing with decks like this Dialga V, is that, yeah, they seem very powerful on paper, but when you have to put a bunch of low HP 2-prize bench sitters into play, it just makes your deck inherently worse, because all Caleb needs is some nice boss's orders, and he can take easier prize cards. So you can just continuously ignore the Dialga VStars the entire game and just go after things like Crobat and then the Mew using the Radiant Greninja. And you'll never even have to worry about even having to try to soften up one of the Dialga VStars. So Derek's going to have to realize at some point that it's very likely, oh, and Caleb gets to see exactly what his prize cards are immediately, that Hisuian Heavy Ball opening is perfect for him. So as you can see, he hits that button and it completely clears off the screen. So yeah, that's a really cool notepad. So if you're very environmentally friendly and you don't want to waste the paper, that type of notepad is perfect for you. I don't think they're very expensive either. It's like it's kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch, but you write on it instead of having to turn the dials. And it's like a pressure sensing. So that's how it knows where you're writing. It's not even like a digital screen or anything. It's pretty nice. They shouldn't... I don't think that they're very expensive at all. But yeah, it looks like the energy cards got moved. The lightnings and water are all towards the bottom now. But also that Hisuian Heavy Ball is at the bottom as well. So Caleb might end up playing it again. But we'll end up seeing here. So Caleb does go immediately for the Chorus's Experiment here. We do see the Mirage Gate is in there. 2 of them, actually. So he's going to feel safe getting rid of 1. And since he knows how many energies are in his prize cards, he's like, yeah, this Kyogre is never coming out this game. I'm going to Lost Zone that immediately. So I think those are the 2 perfect cards from that 5 to Lost Zone. You already still have 1 Mirage Gate. You leave the ability to use the Dragonite. I think personally it may have been fine to Lost Zone the Dragonite as well. I'm not entirely sure what his energy counts are, but if you can get those lightnings off of your prize cards, then maybe it would be fine. He also does have 2 water in hand already, and he only needs 1 lightning. So as long as he's playing 3 lightning, he knows he would have access to 1 in his deck. The attack cost on the Dragonite V is 2 water and a lightning. So it's entirely possible that he knows that he's able to attack with the Dragonite still. We do see the escape rope that's going to force the Mew out, which means that either the Crobat or the Dialga is going to get softened up, most likely due to an attack with a Cramorant potentially. I completely disagree with putting the Dialga up here. I would much prefer have put up the Crobat there, because you know that Caleb's not going to likely be able to get to 7 cards in the Lost Zone during this turn, so you're not going to be hit with a Snorlax this turn. So I think it would be perfectly fine to put up the Crobat, let it absorb a couple hits from a Cramorant while you try to set up, and keep that Dialga VStar fresh. The Crobat, again, is very much a liability, but you could use that to absorb damage. I mean, it is possible that Caleb could get to 7 cards in the Lost Zone this turn, but it's highly improbable. So I don't think that you see the Crobat as the liability there. I think that you can promote it and save the Dialga V-Star from taking damage. We even do see that Snorlax come out, as well as another Comfey and a Sableye. So if there's another switching option, he could use yet another Comfey this turn and be 1 card off from being able to use the Mirage Gate this turn, but again, that's very unlikely that that would happen. So it ends up being perfectly fine, since there was no Cramorant that Derek was able to put up that Dialga perfectly safely. So it ends up working out for him in that, but I think it was incredibly likely that Caleb could have attacked that turn. So, ends up working out for Derek, even though I disagree with the play. We do see Avery come down as well from Derek, which just discards the Sableye. I think Caleb is fine getting rid of the Sableye there. He can loop the triple Comfey. I think he might have a Chorus's Experiment or something in his hand too. He has some sort of supporter in there. No, it's Bird Keeper. Yeah, so he can potentially use the 3 Comfeys in play this upcoming turn. The Hisuian Heavy Ball comes out from Derek. He gets to look at his prize cards. He leaves the double Mew in there, takes the Radiant Greninja, which I think is definitely correct as well. You don't want to be putting a second Mew down when you know Caleb's playing Radiant Greninja of his own and is able to attack with it because of the water energies. And also the Training Court comes out so that the Metal Energy can be immediately recycled after being discarded by the Greninja. And it looks like we're just going to go for the knockout on the Comfey. So the other reason that Caleb did discard the Sableye instead of one of the Comfeys, because as I say, you usually only need 2 Comfeys in play, but by leaving 3 of them in play, you know that active is most likely getting knocked out, so you still have 2 in play after that. And he just draws into another Sableye off the Radiant Greninja he just benched anyway. So yeah, it looks like Caleb is drawing pretty well right now, but he also hasn't attacked yet, and Derek has taken a prize card. So we could potentially see on the next turn a Dialga V-Star attack, taking 2 turns, so 2 prize cards. So Caleb's going to have to watch out for that. He's going to really want to start softening up this Dialga this turn at the very least. Probably will want to attack with Snorlax right now. Looks like the Bird Keeper comes out, drawing 3 cards. He's got triple Mirage Gate. So you can use that Comfey ability now, put a 7th card in the Lost Zone, and then you have enough to not only hard retreat the Comfey, but also fully power up a Snorlax. I just hope that there's enough energy in his deck, because we saw how many energies were in his prize cards, and it looks like there might only be 1 energy left in his deck. He's going to need an Ordinary Rod or Energy Recycler, and it doesn't look like he has either of those in his hand. He does have 2 energy in his hand right now. Yeah, so he's going to hope he gets Ordinary Rod off of here, potentially. Yeah, I think this is actually starting to go downhill for Caleb, just because he's not drawing cards in the correct order. He's even seeing another energy off of this, which he's Lost Zoning. Okay, I'm not sure if the one that I saw in deck was a Psychic, so there might still be one more, but there definitely isn't enough to utilize those triple Mirage Gates that are in his hand right now. So this is looking very unfortunate. You can tell Caleb's play is slowed a little bit. He's not really sure what to do because he's just not in the best position right now. I think he's considering just using the Mirage Gate for one. He does have that Oranguru now, so he can put one of the energies back in his deck. So he could potentially get a full effect off of one Mirage Gate, but I don't think he's going to be able to be attacking with the Snorlax this turn. So we do see Dragonite V is going to come down, and then the Mirage Gate is coming out. So I think there's one water and one lightning exactly. So let's see, what else was in his hand as far as energy cards were concerned? I think there was a water energy as well, so he should be able to attack here. So he was able to piece together a attack this turn still, which is amazing. He's utilized every single energy that's left available to him in order to come off with one attack this turn, which is fantastic. He also does, I believe, he has both a Scoop Up Net and a Escape Rope. He has double Scoop Up Net as well. So he can, it looks like he might scoop up the Greninja. And I think this might be a little risky, but he's going to discard his only water energy left in order to try to get Ordinary Rod or Energy Recycler. Oh, he has the Training Court from his opponent, of course, so that's perfectly fine. Yeah, utilizing all your opponent's resources, using them against him. Gets a free 2-card draw off that Radiant Greninja. Looks like we see the Pokestop's going to get rid of Chorus's Experiment, unfortunately, just to get a Battle VIP pass in his hand. So that's not ideal. Again, this is why I do not like Pokestop as a card. You never mill the right cards with it. Although that Battle VIP pass can always be returned to the top of the deck with Oranguru, so that the Comfey can Lost Zone that and then draw a card, essentially. So it's not the worst, but it's certainly not the best. So we do see the Dragonite attack. Since Caleb, I don't believe, is playing any Choice Belt in his list, that is not going to be a one-shot. On the Dialga, only just hitting for 250. Actually, no, we did see that there was Choice Belt, but there is one in the Lost Zone, so I'm not sure if there's a second one in his list or not. But by Lost Zoning that one Choice Belt on the first turn, it made it highly unlikely he would just be able to get a one-shot with Dragonite V. But it's also still perfectly fine, because he's at 7 cards in the Lost Zone with 2 Comfies in play and another Scoop Up Net in hand, along with a Escape Rope. So he has potentially the resources to get Sableye going on this next turn and be able to finish off that Dialga on the bench. He could also take the knockout on the Mew as well as the Dialga while setting up the Greninja for knockout as well. So that's probably where Caleb wants to go on his next turn. So I kind of disagree with putting the Pokestop into play, just because you could have guaranteed getting the Psychic Energy back from your discard pile with that. Although the Pokestop does prevent Derek from being able to utilize it, so he won't be able to get a Metal Energy back from his discard to hard attach it this turn. But he does have already 2 energy cards in his hand, so it doesn't even matter. Plus also Caleb is probably wanting to get Energy Recycler or Ordinary Rod instead, so that he has access to even more energy, so that he can use those Mirage Gates that are in his hand right now. So having the Pokestop in play, even though it kind of whiffed on the previous turn, maybe on the next turn he can get Ordinary Rod. So we do see an Air Ballooned Mew. We're gonna Quick Ball away a Water Energy. Getting that second Crobat, putting more liabilities on his bench, but of course with this deck you're entirely required to do so. And we're gonna Trekking Shoes again. We are gonna discard another Metal Energy. Getting another Quick Ball. I think maybe he might even consider playing this Quick Ball here. Yeah, Quick Ball, discard Quick Ball. Gonna try to set up yet another Dialga VStar. By getting that Dialga V into play, yeah, looks like it. We're going to have to see a knockout of the Dragonite V this turn in order to pressure Caleb, I believe. Either that, or he can, I guess, boss, use the VStar power on like the Radiant Greninja or the Snorlax, knock that out, take another turn, and then boss up the Dragonite again. So that would require 2 bosses. So I mean, that's not good, but you want to make sure that you can use your VStar power. And it's not likely that he's going to be able to get the second Dialga V even loaded up. So if you're going to use your VStar power this game, you're going to have to do it with that heavily damaged VStar that you have already in play. And his attack does not do enough damage in order to one-shot the Dragonite V. He would have to use the first attack, which then gives Caleb the opportunity to just knock out your dude that has all of the energy investment. So yeah, really bad spot Derek's in right now. I mean, he's got 2 easy Crobats that are easy pickings for that Snorlax. We already know Caleb has all the Mirage Gates that he would ever want in his hand. He's got 2 more. So as long as he sees Ordinary Rod or Energy Recycler, we could easily see an attack with Snorlax on the next turn or Sableye on the next turn. I think Sableye would be better. It looks like he might be going for the VStar power. Oh no, the VStar power does 220. I thought it did 180. So never mind. So the Star Chronos might be doing exactly enough. I think Dragonite V might have 220 HP. Oh no, it has 230? Oh. Yeah, so Star Chronos is here. But that's not enough for a knockout. Yeah, if he had Choice Belt on his Dialga V-Star, that would have been knockout on the Dragonite and be able to take an additional turn, and he'd go down to 2 prize cards. And then all of a sudden that matchup would be completely swung back into Derek's favor. But since he did not have access to that Choice Belt that turn, he's kind of getting punished for it. So he has to take a 2-shot. So he takes his 2 turns, but he has to take a 2-shot on that Dragonite. So that is not ideal whatsoever. Yeah, if he just attacked with the first attack, he could have conserved his V-Star power to use with his next Dialga. And then he could have just one-shot the Dragonite with the first attack instead of using the Star Chronos, drawing 1 card. So I feel like that Star Chronos was kind of wasted, but it's unlikely that he's going to be able to get another 5 energy onto this bench Dialga V. I also don't think there's any way in Derek's deck to be able to do, like, bench sniping damage. And the Dragonite V does damage Caleb's own bench, but it doesn't damage itself. So there's no way that that extra damage from the Star Chronos, or the extra damage that the Star Chronos didn't do, would have ended up mattering. Yeah, so really needed, like, a Choice Belt there, unfortunately. I think if Derek had the Choice Belt in deck, that would have, or in hand, rather, that would have completely swung this game back into his favor. But as we can see, Caleb is just going to start running away with this game now. He knows that Derek is, yeah, Caleb can easily take a 3 prize turn this turn by going for the Sableye knockout on the Dialga V-Star, knocking out the Mew, and then setting up Greninja, and then putting whatever's left on that Dialga V on the bench. And then you're threatening with both Snorlax and another Sableye to just, like, kind of clean sweep the game. I mean, it'll still take Caleb a couple of turns to get it going, but, I mean, Derek's still got to take 3 more prize cards. So that gives Caleb 3 turns in order to get going. We do finally see that Ordinary Rod. Looks like thanks to the Pokestop, he's going to put Sableye back in. Looks like he's considering Dragonite V as well. That's very interesting. I mean, the damage output from that is pretty high. So he is going to recycle Water and Psychic with the Ordinary Rod. You're going to see those be put back in. Yeah, the thing is though, Caleb already got rid of that energy recycler super early. He was really forced to, but we're gonna see if that ends up mattering, because he's gonna keep having Mirage Gates, but is he going to have enough energy in order to do anything with it? Caleb does have to take some prize cards here, so he's probably guaranteed to take, I think, 2 energy off his prize cards. So it might end up being fine. I think you're forced to, even if you don't want to go for it, I think you're forced to take the 3 prize turn for Caleb, just so that you can see the energy cards that are in that in those prize cards. So that, in combination with like another ordinary rod, would be enough to set up the Snorlax, or setting up yet again the Dragonite V. So we see there's 2 prize cards, and then the third. So yeah, he takes Water Lightning off of his prize cards, which are probably the perfect colors to take off of there, personally. If he was able to take 1 more prize card, he would have gotten yet another additional Lightning. So yeah, that's perfectly setting up the ability to be able to go in with that Dragonite V again. Yeah, he knew which colors were in his prize cards exactly. So he was able to go, you know what, I'm going to recycle this Dragonite V, because I know that I'm likely going to get a Lightning energy off my prize cards if I take 3. And potentially a Water energy as well. And that's exactly what he did. He took a Water and a Lightning. And that Hisuian Heavy Ball, which can get the other Snorlax that's in his prize cards, but I don't think that's really worth playing unless you want to just thin it from your hand. I think the fact that there's another his next prize card that'll take, judging by the way people normally take prize cards, will be another Lightning energy, so I think he doesn't want to shuffle those prize cards, but of course he doesn't know that, so he could just play the Heavy Ball to burn it, which is technically the correct play. But we're going to see the Dialga VStar come off of the Raihan, as well as the Metal Energy from the discard being attached. And I think Ultra Ball for the Zacian. He either Raihan for the Zacian or an Ultra Balled for the Dialga VStar, or vice versa. Kind of hard to tell. He kind of played those both at the same time, really. So we see the Dialga V-Star does get evolved into. We see Scoop Up Net is going to recycle that Greninja. And the Dialga is just going to take the easy knockout on this Sableye. Now, here's the thing. Because Caleb was able to do that perfect turn, the 3 prize turn like I was talking about, that extra damage that went down on the Dialga V-Star was exactly 30 that was remaining, right? So that leaves it so that Caleb, if he gets the Dragonite set up and into play this turn, he wins the game essentially, because he'll be able to knock out the only remaining potential attacker from Derek, because nothing else in play even has any metal energy whatsoever. He'll be able to take 2 prize cards on the main attacker, the one that does the most damage. The Zacian V can only attack every other turn unless he has switching cards, or like Air Balloon for retreat with a switch card. So it looks like Pokestop is going to discard the Sableye but get Scoop Up Net and Energy Recycler. This is the perfect situation that Caleb is in right now. He has everything he needs to be able to set up that Dragonite one more time. He even has the Choice Belt if he didn't have the damage on that Dialga. So again, you just see just how powerful this Lost Zone deck from Caleb and his group is. The Dragonite V is just amazing. It's an amazing tech to have in there. We are going to see the Radiant Greninja drawing the last 2 cards of the deck. We're likely going to see the Energy Recycler putting in... Yeah, we're going to see the Dragonite get benched with a Water Energy attached. We're going to see Energy Recycler or Ordinary Rod to put back in Water and Lightning so that he can... Yeah, you also want 1 more card in there. So he's putting all his energy from his discard back into his deck with the Energy Recycler. Then he's using Mirage Gate. Yeah, and it looks like 5 energies as well. So fully powering up that Dragonite V. His deck is now, I believe, 3 energy cards remaining. Yeah, he has a 3-card deck that's all energy. So if he has access to yet another Mirage Gate, he can even use that on the Snorlax in combination with something like a Boss's Orders to just straight up win the game. I don't think I see anything like a Boss's Orders though. But he does have the Escape Rope, so that could potentially come into play if the Zacian goes active after this Dialga gets knocked out. You could force one of the 2 Crobats up and take the final knockout with the Snorlax. So Caleb is in the perfect commanding position, and this game he's running away with this game completely. That Scoop Up Net comes down on the Comfey, making sure that... Oh, and it looks like there isn't a Snorlax in there. He had already taken it with the Heavy Ball. So he sees the Chorus and the 2 energies. Oh, and it looks like it actually shuffles the prize card so that the Chorus goes to the bottom. That's actually like the last place that you want it, but he's going to take 1 energy card off his prize cards either way, and he still has an Ordinary Rod available to him as well. So here comes the Dragonite, knocking that out. The only way Derek can win right now is if he promotes Crobat, hard attaches to it, and then triple Metal Saucers to his benched Zacian and then retreats. Actually, no. He would have to have Air Balloon. He would have to put yeah, he would have to put dang. He'd have to put the Crobat active, Air Balloon it, hard attached to his benched Zacian, and then double Metal Saucer. I'm not 100% sure if there's 2 Metal... It looks like there's 1 Metal Saucer in his hand he just top decked. And he does have a Raihan. So, let's see. Oh yeah, and the Dragonite also has 230, so he's going to need Choice Belt. So he needs Choice Belt and 3 energy on this Zacian, as well as a way to retreat the Crobat. But that's exactly what he needs. So he the perfect promotion was there with that Crobat V. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel for Derek because he's at 2 prize cards remaining. He's looking to see how many cards are left in his deck. He might try to Pokestop if there's another Metal Saucer left in his deck, but I'm not entirely sure how many he's used up already. I want to say he's used 3. He's used at least 2. I mean, he's gotten 5 energy on that 1 Dialga. That's very unlikely to do. Looks like 1, 2. There's at least 2 in his discard pile. I didn't see if there was a 3rd one or not. So he has at least 1 Metal Saucer in his hand. He might have 1 in deck. He could always potentially Pokestop into it. He could always Raihan for it as well, but he also needs a way to retreat. Let's see, we've got Boss's Orders. You don't want to play that. Yeah, there's the Raihan he's considering playing. So he's going to Raihan here. So yeah, there is a potential world where Derek can win this game. So there he goes, he Raihans. He's going to have to search for, it looks like either Air Balloon or Metal Saucer, and then hope to Pokestop into the other one. What's left in his deck? It looks like there's Escape Rope. That's not going to do it for him, though. Looks like he's just getting a Metal Energy from deck, so he's going to hard attach that for turn to his bench. Does he have the Air Balloon? Yeah, he needs Air Balloon Choice Belt here in order to win the game, and they'd have to all be in his hand. He's got double Mew and a Greninja. So yeah, that Greninja can draw him 2 more cards, but I don't think that's going to get him. I think he needs too many cards, and he just does not have access to any of that. Pokestop gets him the Metal Saucer. He Metal Saucers. Wait, no, he does 230, not 220. Yeah, I thought the Zacian was doing 220, but I forgot Brave Blade does 230 damage. So in time, he's able to tie up that match. That was absolutely amazing. I'm very surprised that he was able to pull that out. He ended up getting the exact things he needed off of that Pokestop. So you can see just how punishing playing Pokestop is. Again, I disagree with Caleb putting that into play. I think it would have been fine to just leave the training court in play because you can also recycle more energies yourself. Especially if you have access to that Oranguru, you can always put him back into your hand from the discard to put him back on top of the deck. And then Mirage Gate with it. So, yeah, I don't think Pokestop was the play there. I think that's what lost Caleb that game. And ended up tying the match. So that was actually an amazing game too. Ending up tying the match there. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. I'm surprised that it came to that point. It had looked like Caleb was just running away with that game. But I think putting that Pokestop into play definitely essentially lost him the game. I mean, it got him eventually to that ordinary rod that he needed, but I think it was just too much of a risk. Plus, also, he never saw that choice belt. If he had saw that choice belt earlier, it looked like there were 2 in his hand towards that end of the game. If he had seen that earlier and was just able to take a one-shot on the Dialga, then maybe he could have played the Sableye turn differently as well. So, anyways, that was a great match, and we will be back with more of Day 2 of the Pokemon San Diego Regional Championships. Don't forget, guys, if you see me at an event, we got the Ninja Nick VStar markers now available. I have tons of them, so ask me for however many you want, you'll get them. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe and all that good stuff to feed that delicious YouTube algorithm, and I will see you guys in the next round.